Hi, my name is Ishrain. Today marks the beginning of Yom HaShoah, the Holocaust Remembrance Day. And this is a story that I felt would be perfect to commemorate and honor those we lost and those who kept our memories on. This is the Tree of Life, How a Holocaust Sapling Inspired the World, written by Elisa Boxer, illustrated by Alianna Rozentsveig. Let's dive in. This story is really close to my heart, and I know you will love it too. In a season of sadness, hope came to the children as a tiny tree, tucked inside a boot. It was winter, World War II, and the boot belonged to a prisoner in a ghetto called Theresen. There were children in the ghetto too. The prisoners saw they were scared and separated from their families. He also saw a woman secretly teaching the children to read, write, and celebrate Jewish holidays. Tu B'Shvat was coming, the New Year of the Trees. The teacher, Irma Lauscher, risked her life when she asked the prisoner to sneak in a sapling. The prisoner risked his life when he said yes. The children were comforted by this living lesson, smuggled in just in time for the holiday. They planted it in a pot. What will happen with the tree? Let's find out. Then, when the cold ground had thawed, they dug a hole, put the sapling inside, and patted down dirt around its base. I'm picturing it. The children were thirsty, and they knew the tree must be thirsty too, so they lined up with their little cups to share a few drops a day. In time, the tree grew taller, its roots grew stronger, its branches grew longer. Prisoners throughout Theresen whispered about this miraculous maple, and how the children managed to make it thrive by sharing what little water they had. It was known throughout Theresen as Etz Chaim, the tree of life. A miracle. Over time, fewer and fewer children were left to care for the tree. With helpless hearts, they watched more and more of their friends leave. Must have been heartbreaking, much less scary. And their friends were taken away on trains to a place that was even worse. The children were the future of the Jewish people, and the Nazis wanted a future without Jewish people. Those who remained never stopped sharing their precious water. Drop after drop, day after day, they kept hope alive. And hope is a very, very powerful thing. If you have hope for your future, then anything is possible. In time, the tree grew taller. Its roots grew stronger. Its branches grew longer. Hope always wins. And these illustrations are truly beautiful. When the war was over and the prisoners were rescued, the small sapling had grown to 5 feet, taller than most of the children. Before walking out of the camp toward freedom, Irma and the children planted a sign in the ground. As the branches of this tree, so the branches of our people. And they gathered around it and gave it one final drink. They were probably sad that they had to leave the tree, but hopeful, knowing that the tree and they themselves would grow stronger. And in time, the tree grew taller. Its roots grew stronger, its branches grew longer. As the years went by, people from around the world came to see the ruins of Theresen and say special prayers for all who had died there. The tree, now 60 feet tall, stood as a silent witness. And the teacher Irma, who risked everything to help the children grow this miracle, she survived the war. Irma is truly a legend, a miracle maker, and so kind. She saw to it that seeds from the tree were planted all over the world, in memory of the children who had kept hope alive. 60 years after those children planted and nurtured the sapling, heavy floodwaters engulfed the tree. It stopped growing taller. Its roots became weaker. Its bark fell away. And in 2007, the tree lost its last leaf. But its 600 sapling descendants around the world, they grew taller. Their roots grew stronger, and their branches grew longer. Hope always lives. The light from hope always thrives. It never goes away. In 2021, a miracle came to New York City. Children cheered and clapped as a 15-foot tree was lowered into the ground across from their school. They had learned about this tree, about how it was born from a branch of a giant maple, grown in secret by a group of children in the Holocaust. The students lined up to water it, just like those children nearly 80 years earlier. Trees nurture a connection to the past, a bond that grows. Students will continue to care for it, to nourish it, to learn more about its beginnings for generations to come. In time, this tree will grow taller, its roots will grow stronger, and its branches will grow longer. And the world will remember the brave teacher and the children who never gave up nurturing a more hopeful future. I truly love this story. It's a reminder that hope always wins, and it pulls on your heartstrings. And I'll read a little author's note. One aspect of the Holocaust I've always found particularly heart-wrenching is the fact that countless lives were never allowed to begin. In addition to the lives that were lost, so many generations never even happened. So many family trees never took root. 90% of Europe's Jewish children were killed in the Holocaust. But despite Hitler's plan to eliminate the Jewish people, descendants of Holocaust survivors are thriving across the world. So too are trees born from that original sapling planted by the children of Terezin. Seeds and cuttings from the original tree went to places including Israel, England, California, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. Many of them are cared for by congregations and Holocaust museums. And now, there is a tree that will be nurtured by the children of Public School 276 in Battery Park, New York City. The tree planted outside the Museum of Jewish Heritage was donated to the museum by Dr. Roger Pomerantz, a Jewish philanthropist who owns a nursery in Pennsylvania, where several descendants of the original tree are flourishing. Irma Lauscher was a teacher in Terezin, the Czechoslovakian prison camp. She reportedly asked one of the prisoners to smuggle in a tree sapling to give the children something to nurture and celebrate during their secret lessons about Judaism. These types of lessons were forbidden by the Nazis, as was bringing anything in or out of the camp, so both Irma and the prisoner were putting their lives in danger. It was a quiet, courageous act of resistance that grows to this day. As a Jewish journalist and author with Eastern European family members on both my mother's and father's sides killed in the Holocaust, I feel an intrinsic drive to illuminate their stories of resistance and triumph. Terezin was a propaganda camp. The Nazis used it as a facade to hide the terrible treatment of prisoners. When the Red Cross visited the camp in 1944, they saw well-fed workers, including children, performing concerts and plays, making art, and engaging in other cultural pursuits. It was all an act. When the Red Cross officials left and reported to the rest of the world that the Nazis were treating their workers very well, the lie was believed and the brutal treatment resumed. Most of the prisoners, including children, were deported to Auschwitz and killed. Although Terezin was technically a ghetto and not an extermination camp, 34,000 people died there, mostly from disease and starvation. Irma, the teacher, sadly passed away in 1985. She made arrangements for the trees, seeds, and saplings to be distributed and planted around the world in memory of Terezin's children. During the New York City dedication ceremony for the children's tree, Terezin survivor Fred Turner said, "My feeling of the tree is one word, memory. His planting is a form of remembering, and that's what this tree is. Continuity. If only those children in Terezin who planted the original tree could have known that something they grew in the darkest of circumstances will be reborn hundreds of times over. If only they could have seen that this symbol of hope they created is now a symbol of survival that will honor the past and nourish the future for generations to come." This story is beautiful, and I hope you will read it. It will not just become a staple in your home, but it will become a story that you will cherish in your heart.